Hey, it's me. It's Nick Digilio. How you doing? Hi. Hey. You got to subscribe to my podcast. We're having a great time doing it. It's on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. It's the Nick D Podcast. New episodes drop every Tuesday and every Friday. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. Get in there right now. Rate and review us. All that cool stuff. RadioMisfits.com. The Nick D Podcast. Hey, help me out on Patreon. How about becoming a patron? Donate a little dough, $3, $9, $25 a month. You get bonus materials, including behind-the-scenes stories of what happened at WGN, and more exclusive videos. If you want to keep the videos coming and all that stuff, need some help. Become a patron now. Donate some dough. Every little bit helps. Please do become a patron now. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Get there now. Donate now. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Thanks for checking me out on my YouTube channel. Okay, every once in a while I like to cut videos where I introduce movies that maybe not a lot of people have seen. I kind of call it Undiscovered Gems. These are movies that might have snuck under the radar that certainly didn't do well, at the box office. They weren't like big hits of any kind. Maybe they became cult hits. Maybe as years have gone by, people have discovered them, but they certainly weren't hits when they came out. And every once in a while, some of these movies show up on cable, and people get to know them every once in a while. But these are movies that I wanted to shine a light on, these specific movies that I call Undiscovered Gems, because they deserved a lot more attention than they got, a lot more acclaim than they received, and a bigger audience. And one of my favorite movies of the late aughts, if you will, whatever that fucking time period is called, is a movie that I remember seeing the trailers for and not thinking it was going to be that great. It was a movie that there were people in the cast that I liked. There were some people in the cast that I didn't like. The trailers weren't all that promising. And then I saw the movie with pretty low expectations, which maybe is the key for, I don't know, why I responded to it. Although, the reason I responded to it is because it's a fucking great movie. But I really responded strongly because my expectations were so low. And the movie that I want to talk about here in the Undiscovered Gem category is this one. Adventureland. This is a great fucking movie. A great movie. That kind of came out of nowhere. Came out in 2009, and it was advertised as the director of Superbad. And at that time, all the Judd Apatow shit had gotten all this attention. Most of it wasn't good. The only movie that I can go back and watch that Apatow has directed that I really think holds up, that I really like, is 40-Year-Old Virgin. All the rest of them have not aged well. The stuff that he produced, all the Apatow stuff, and Apatow begat Seth Rogen, who begat all this bullshit, and all of that stuff, the Judd Apatow influenced Seth Rogen tiered comedies that came out in those mid to late aughts and mid 2000s and 10s and shit. Fuck them. I got tired of those things real quickly. Real quickly. And again, the only one that I really go back and that holds up at all is 40-Year-Old Virgin. All the rest of the Apatow movies, not so good at all. And the stuff that they spawned with all of your Danny McBrides and your James Francos and your Seth Rogens and all of those fucking movies with your Jonah Hill, all that shit. No. Those movies, some of those movies at best were okay. And some of them at worst, shit. Absolute shit. But this one, unfortunately, got caught in that area. They advertised it like it was Superbad, and I went in thinking it was going to be another fucking Superbad. What I forgot, though, was the director of this movie and the writer of this movie is infinitely more talented and infinitely more interesting as a writer than Seth Rogen and Apatow and all these other jagoffs who were making these stupid comedies in that era. And what he made here is an incredible movie about what it was like to be in your 20s in the late 80s. A great coming-of-age movie, a great love story, a movie about what it was like, a perfect movie about what it was like to be around in the late 80s and be in your early 20s. And I happen to be a person who was in their early 20s in the late 80s, in the mid to late 80s. When this movie takes place, it takes place in the summer of 1987. The characters in this movie are in their early 20s. I was in my early 20s in the summer of 1987. So all of the characters in this movie, this is a period movie, takes place in 1987. All of the main characters, the characters themselves, I was that age. The movie, it's a universal movie. It's a universal story about, identifying with what it was like to be a college grad and then not know what the fuck you were going to do, and be a lover of music and be a lover of the arts and be a lover of movies. And all of these characters were, and they were stuck in this cycle, as many people in their early 20s are after they graduate college, and they don't know what they're going to do. And it turned out to be, it's a phenomenal movie, and one of the best movies of the late 2000, it came out in 2009. It was phenomenal. So what I expected was, and it was, all the commercials were like, from the director of Superbad. So I thought it was going to be another movie where teenagers say fuck a lot, there's some sex jokes, and there's wacky Apatow, Seth Rogen-induced nonsense. And this movie is so far beyond that, so much more than that nonsense, that it blew me away. And it continues to blow me away every time I see it. I've seen this movie, I don't know, hundreds of times, and it gets better and richer and more awesome with every viewing. And everybody in it is amazing. This is the movie, because this movie came out right in the middle of the Twilight movies, Kristen Stewart, during the Twilight movies. So I had like a very low opinion of her at that point, because she did that Snow White movie, which sucked, and the Twilight movies. This was the first movie where I went, oh, wait a minute. Kristen Stewart might be something. She might be a pretty good actress here, because she's fucking great in this. And then, of course, as we know, as years have gone by, right now, I think she's one of the best actresses on the planet, and became one of the most interesting actresses ever. And right now, personally, I think she should win the Academy Award this year for Spencer. I don't even know if she's going to get nominated. At this point, the nominations aren't out. But this was the first movie where Kristen Stewart, I was like, whoa. Jesse Eisenberg is your lead. The movie takes place in the summer of 1987, in and around and outside of Pittsburgh. Jesse Eisenberg plays this kid. He just graduated high school. He wants to take the summer off, go to Europe. He's going to go to Europe on a trip with his best buddy. They're going to smoke weed. They're going to do what you're supposed to do in that year off before you go to grad school, before your real life starts. Go to grad school, do your thing. But he finds out that his parents, played by Wendy Malick and Jack Gilbin, kind of wasted away all the money. Like, there's no money for him to go to. There's no money for him to go on the trip he wants to go on. There's no money for grad school. Everything is fucked up. His dad might be an alcoholic, as you find out later in the movie in beautiful, subtle fashion, as there is so much subtlety and beauty in this movie. So he's got to get a summer job. He tries to get any job possible. He goes to fast food joints and all that stuff, and he finally decides he's going to get a job where his jag-off neighbor works, and his jag-off neighbor, played by Matt Bush, says, hey, man, why don't you get a job at Adventureland? And Adventureland is this seasonal, amusement park that has, games and rides and all kinds of stuff. And he can get a summer job there, make some money, maybe, save up some money, and then go off to college afterwards. He doesn't want to do it. Everybody that works there hates to work there. It's considered a loser job for the summer. So he goes there and he works for the summer at this place called Adventureland. And there he meets Kristen Stewart, who works as one of the games people, and kind of has a crush on her. She's having a secretive affair with Ryan Reynolds, who plays Mike Connell, who is this part-time musician who once jammed with Lou Reed, and he's married, but he's having an affair with Kristen Stewart. He meets Martin Starr, who becomes like his buddy there. He's this very eccentric, very weird, very smart, very funny, pipe-smoking, eccentric dude who also works with him in the games department of the place. The place is run by Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig, who play a married couple who run the facility. And all kinds of shit happens while they're there. There's this girl that everybody's in love with, a girl named Lisa P., beautifully played by Margarita LaViva. And she's like the girl that everybody lusts for. She works at Adventureland. She comes back for the summer. So, Jesse Eisenberg gets to know these people. He doesn't want to be there, but he develops friendships over that course of the summer, as many people do. And then he falls in love, basically, with Kristen Stewart, who has a really crazy relationship with his father and his new wife, Her mother, her real mother, Kristen Stewart's real mother's the character of Kristen Stewart's real mother, passed away from cancer, and she's scarred from that. She hates her new stepmother, and as a result has this very unhealthy affair with this married guy, this jagoff played by Ryan Reynolds. The characters are well written. They're three-dimensional. It is funny as hell. Really, really funny, but not in the broad, pot-induced, over-the-top way that Superbad was. And Superbad's a fine movie. It's fine. But this is like just on a whole nother level. This is a real movie. Superbad is a bunch of jagoffs telling jokes. And they're funny, and it's amusing. But Superbad doesn't even compare to, to this film. Adventureland's like a real screenplay with real characters, real situations, and three-dimensional stuff happening. It's funny, it's sad, it's human, it's real, and on top of it, it has the best fucking soundtrack ever. Now, again, I was the age of these characters in the 80s, and I listened to the music that they listened to at that time. I listened to a lot of music in the 80s, and it's all represented here. Not only is the score great, the score is by Yola Tango. For God's sake, Yola Tango did the music score, provides a couple of songs in the movie too, but did the music score. And I knew there was something special happening with this movie. Like, I went in with these expectations thinking it was going to be another Apatow-influenced bullshit Superbad knockoff. But I knew right away from the beginning, because when the credits started and the Miramax logo starts up, the first thing you hear is the opening of Bastards of Young by The Replacements. And I was like, oh, well... Only one of the greatest songs of all time, from one of the greatest bands of all time, and certainly considered by many to be the best band of that era, The Replacements. So as soon as Bastards of Young opened the movie, I was like, okay. And then the movie proceeded to charm me with its three-dimensional and lovely characters and its really wonderful situations and its pure comedy that's character-driven. You really, really care about the people in this movie. There are heartbreaking moments in the movie. Like, one point in the movie, the character that Martin Starr plays, as I mentioned, he's a little eccentric. He's kind of weird. Not the best-looking guy, kind of a geeky dude. And one night, this drunken girl who's very popular at Adventureland ends up making out with him. And there's this incredible moment in the movie afterwards, the day after they've had this sort of drunken night out till dawn, where Jesse Eisenberg is now starting to fall for Kristen Stewart, and they kind of kiss and, hook up. Meanwhile, he's in the backseat with the drunk girl. Martin Starr's in the backseat with the drunk girl named Sue, and they end up making out. And then the next day at Adventureland, he very shyly walks up to her and brings her a copy of his favorite book. Because they had this moment, he's kind of fallen for her, and he's rejected by her completely. And not only is he rejected, but in the most racist fashion possible. I can't date you because you're Jewish and I'm Catholic. Even though, of course, he says he's an atheist, an agnostic or whatever. But he comes up to her and he gives her this book. And the book is by Nikolai Gogol, and it's The Overcoat by Nikolai Gogol. A Russian author who killed himself. And he gives her this book. This is my favorite book. He's a Russian author. I thought, I wanted to just give it to you. And then she says, well, I can't date you. It was a mistake. I made a mistake making out with you. Because she was drunk. Made a mistake. I was making out with you, and you're Jewish, and I can't date you. And then as she gets up to walk away, he had put the book in front of her, this Gogol book, this Russian author, puts the book in front of her and says, here, please read this. It's my favorite book. In this incredible gesture. And she just gets up to walk away, and she says to him basically, it was a mistake, didn't want to make out with you, you're Jewish, we can't be together, and starts to walk away with her. And then he still says, okay, but it's still a good book. Kills me every time I see it. And that's the kind of humanist stuff that is filled to the brim in Adventureland. The kind of stuff I didn't expect to see. It's a wonderful movie. It's a wonderful movie about being in your 20s. It's a wonderful movie about growing up. It's a wonderful movie about falling in love. It's a wonderful movie about summer escapades and what that means. And it's got an incredible ending that's very satisfying. I cried, I laughed. Little moments like, here's my favorite book. Well, it's still a good book. Please read it. Stuff like that. It's a great movie. It's a humanist movie. And then let's talk about the fucking soundtrack, because it's truly one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. To represent the time, of course, in the 80s, you've got stuff like Falco used, like Rock Me Amadeus is used hilariously in it. Point of No Return by Expose is used in it. You got Rush is used in it. You've got Poison to represent the 80s. And then just as far as like the soundtrack and the choices of the soundtrack. Incredible Lou Reed songs, Velvet Underground. David Bowie is used, Big Star, The Cure, Crowded House, one of the greatest songs of all time, Don't Dream It's Over, is used to beautiful effect during an incredible moment where, one of the most romantic moments in the movie where the friends are out there and this romance between Kristen Stewart and Jesse Eisenberg is happening, and they're watching fireworks explode as Crowded House is playing. I mean, come on, man. How much more beautiful and romantic can that be? Animotion, that's Point of No Return. Or Animotion is part of it. Jesus and Mary Chain. Nick Lowe, the Rolling Stones are used, and Rush is used. Violent Femmes, Wang Chung is used in it. And all of the songs that are used perfectly. They accentuate the movie. Greg Mottola, who, by the way, is a tremendous director, who is around my age, who picked all those songs perfectly. The guy's got amazing taste in music. Great music. Mottola, who hasn't directed a movie since 2016. He directed Keeping Up with the Joneses with Gal Gadot and Jack Black. Not a good movie. But he directed Paul, which was with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It was an alien movie, really wonderful movie. He directed Day Trippers, which was one of those indie movies from the 90s that everybody, the big indie 90s thing that happened after Tarantino broke the door open. Day Trippers was part of that with a great cast and a really good script. A lot of TV stuff. He did a lot of episodes of Undeclared, which is why Martin Starr is in this, which was his connection to Apatow in the first place. He did Undeclared. He directed some episodes of The Comeback with Lisa Kudrow. Cracking Up, the Molly Shannon sitcom. He directed episodes of that. Many episodes of Arrested Development. He directed some episodes of The Newsroom, some episodes of Dave, the TV show, and he directed the HBO show Clear History with Larry David. So he's directed a bunch of really great stuff, but this is his masterpiece. It's his most personal movie, Adventureland, and he picked the soundtrack. And any movie that opens with Bastards of Young and then right towards the end closes with Unsatisfied by The Replacements, and then over the final credits, Don't Change by In Excess, the best In Excess song ever, is used. I mean, the soundtrack, everything about it, the characters. It's a great movie, a great movie. So if you have not seen Adventureland, if you're put off by, because Jesse Eisenberg has become sort of one note now, and in real life, like in interviews, he's a total jag-off. But Kristen Stewart now is a wonderful actress, and everybody in it gives great performances from top to bottom. If you want to see a great movie about the 80s with an incredible soundtrack, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. If you want to see a great movie about growing up, a great movie about being in the summer, about having a terrible job and dealing with it, about Pittsburgh. If you want to see a great movie about Pittsburgh, this is the one. So in that Undiscovered Gems category, now the movie didn't do very well at the box office, kind of bombed. It has since grown. People have found it. People like it. It's become a late-night cable staple, but it deserves more. If you've only seen it once, go back and watch it again, because it's a real special movie. This is a special movie, a great one. One of my favorites, one of the most accurate portrayals of being in your early 20s, especially at that time period, ever made, with one of the greatest soundtracks of all time, and just a funny, lovely, human movie, Adventureland. So much better than I thought it was going to be, and it still holds up. Also very funny as hell. And also, corn dogs. One of the best uses of corn dogs ever. And there's a lot of laughs in it. Don't think there aren't, because Bill Hader, and Kristen Wiig are hilarious in it. There are a lot of big laughs in it. But this is so much more than just a super bad knockoff. It's a real movie. Like a real movie. Adventureland. Undiscovered Gem. So, that's what the Undiscovered Gem stuff is about. And I hope you check it out. All right, enjoy the veal.